Hello, my name is Vic Scena, and I'm the chairman of the Walpole Republican Town Committee. And this was going to be a debate. However, Mark Galvin decided, he is a Republican, that he did not want to participate. So what we have tonight is we have Tom Brown, who's running for the seat, and we also have Richard Zaccaro, and we'll be asking questions to both. And we'd like to thank Walpole Media for letting us tape this. And we'll start with the questions. Okay. Tom is a veteran Marine. He's lived in town for many years, and he felt the urge to run because of what's been going on in the town and what's not been being told to the citizens of Walpole. There's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes, and I'll let Tom lead in with his qualifications and introduce him. Tom Brown?
Thank you, Vic, for having me here tonight. I really appreciate it. And I am Tom Brown, candidate for Walpole Town Select Board member. I'm running on a platform of transparency, more accountability, and responsible spending. For many years now, I felt as though that as a taxpayer, we were being taxed to the max all the time, every single year, year after year. As many of you have seen your tax burden double in just the last 10 years. My opponent, Mark Gallivan, has voted consistently for the maximum tax levy of 2.5%. And you couple that with your house valuation or your property valuation, your average tax increase is somewhere around 4.5% every single year. Just this last Monday evening, we did a League of Women's Voters Forum on Zoom. And Mark Gallivan again emphasized his strong urge to push through the Community Preservation Act. It is a 3% increase on top of the maximum levy of 2.5, so your minimum property tax would be 5.5%. That does not even include the valuation increase. So with the valuation increase, you'd probably be looking at somewhere around 7% a year. That does not go away. The Community Preservation Act will be put on your tax bill forever. It's just unsustainable, especially during this pandemic that we are going through and the uncertain times that we are facing. Many town residents have been unemployed, furloughed, and simply have lost their jobs. A lot of uncertainty going on. The town has proposed a $4 million increase over last year's budget to $97 million. During the pandemic, they went and borrowed $3.5 million in a short-term loan for the ball fields on Route 1A across from the state prison. That is a non-essential project, and they continued with it throughout the whole pandemic. It's a non-essential project. They did a short-term loan for $3.5 million. They're increasing your tax burden while you are having uncertain times during this pandemic. It's just unbelievable.
So Tom, what would you do to change the direction this town is heading in?
Well, I believe that we should adopt the 1/12 budget that was proposed by the governor onto the cities and towns of the state. Give them an option of doing that. The 1/12 budget would be basically a break for us, the taxpayers. And we have a lot of other money sitting around in these accounts in Walpole that they could use free cash money, stabilization funds, and other monies that are sitting there to lower our tax burden for, I would say, the next 2 quarters. If we could cut the taxes, property taxes, say in half for 2 quarters to give people a break, I think that would be great.
Would you be in favor of zero-based budgeting?
Zero-based budgeting is definitely a way to save money consistently. I've asked for that and endorsed it on the last few campaigns that I have been involved with. I would also urge the select board to consider joining the state retirement and healthcare system, investing our OPEB funds more prudently to save money for you, the taxpayer. I think we could save millions of dollars by reinvesting our money accordingly.
So going forward, having our money invested into the state retirement fund, I know that the state retirement fund gives a bigger dividend and more bang for the buck. Do you know what that, or does Dick know what that is? How much more it is? How much more it'll save us?
I think it's in the millions of dollars, actually, if we were to join these, the state retirement system and the healthcare system. From what I understand, there was an agreement made with the town unions not to join these groups, which is just unbelievable. I mean, why aren't we searching out ways to save money wherever we can?
I can give you a quick example of the differential between the state retirement system pension fund return and the Norfolk County retirement system return. Just in 2018, when we experienced a downward trend in the financial markets, Norfolk County's retirement system was down -4.5%, where the state system was only down about 1.5%. That's a differential of 3% of 300 basis points. And if you do the math on the Walpole percentage in the Norfolk County retirement system, that comes up to millions of dollars in savings. Basically what that means is the better the return from a retirement system, the less appropriations or tax dollars needed in your local community. And then since inception, since 1985, the state retirement system also outperformed the Norfolk County retirement system. So that would be millions of dollars more in investment earnings that could be deducted right from the Walpole residents' tax bills.
So you're saying that if we went into the state retirement fund, it would lessen the burden on the citizens of Walpole?
To give you an idea, the Norfolk County Pension Fund is $930 million. The state pension fund is $25 billion. So their money managers give them volume discounts based on the fact that the state is handing out a lot more money for these professional managers to invest than Norfolk County can do. The same thing is with the state GIC group insurance program. They have 450,000 members compared to the Norfolk County healthcare system that has way less than that. So obviously, if you do the math, they would also benefit by joining the state GIC, where they would get a volume discount as well. And it's basically the same providers.
Okay, moving on. I know that Mr. Galvin is in favor of the inclusionary zoning bylaw. What would you say in favor or against the inclusionary zoning bylaw, Tom?
I am against the inclusionary zoning bylaw, as I feel as though it will ruin property values for people that have lived in the town for a very long time. You don't know who or where the inclusionary zones are going to be. And frankly, you didn't buy into town for that. Now all of a sudden they want to pass all these inclusionary zoning and affordable housing units, basically apartment buildings. Apartment buildings are not the way to achieve our affordable housing percentage. Proper home ownership on a piece of property that would give a homeowner actual ownership of the property, of the house. These tenants in these apartments will not have ownership of those. Back after World War II and Vietnam, a lot of communities adopted smaller communities with small homes, gave these veterans ownership of these properties, like the Campanelli style home. You've seen a lot of them in Brockton, Abington, Whitman, Weymouth. And it was a good thing for those communities. A lot of people still live there in those homes. They've expanded those homes. They've raised the roofs on them and made them into multi-levels. That's true ownership in an affordable community.
Now, the way I understand the inclusionary zoning bylaw works is, and I have a friend of mine who just built 15 houses in Mansfield. And out of the 15 houses, he had to build, I think the houses were selling for $500,000 to $600,000. And out of the homes he built, he had to build 3 for $315,000 odd dollars. All right. Now, what that does, it takes and lowers the property value of the house that's next door to it.
Right.
Number one.
That's not fair.
Number two, you cannot resell that house for market value. So if you're selling your house in, let's say, 7 or 8 years, and it might be worth $700,000 or $750,000 or whatever,
Right.
and he's selling his house for $315,000. Which house are they going to buy?
That's right.
They're going to buy the one for
It's an unfair
$315,000.
advantage.
Absolutely.
If I may back up just a quick minute, one of the other alternative cost savings measures that Tom is introducing that's very important when he mentioned OPEB. If you viewers out there, OPEB stands for Other Post-Employee Benefits, i.e. the future funding of health insurance for the future retirees in the town. This last budget that Tom so keenly pointed out, a $4 million increase during this pandemic. They increased the budget from $93 million from last year fiscal year to $97 million this fiscal year. They chose instead to fund $3.5 million for a ball field across from the state prison. And where did they get the money from? A public borrowing. And also they chose not to fund one nickel towards the future retirees' health care costs. They were supposed to put in $500,000, set it aside. Where they put it, we can't find out. They might put it in a bank at less than 1%. And Tom's proposing to invest that money more prudently in a diversified fund that has been getting about 10% a year on the return. Once again, that results in lower appropriations, less tax dollars for you people out there. So that's another excellent suggestion that Tom has in his cost-saving measures. Rather than continually tax to the max 2.5%, and now his opponent wants another 3% on top of your property value, so you'll have a 5.5% tax. That'll put the average taxpayer home well over $10,000. And can people afford that when they're laid off? I just felt that's an important point.
It is.
Yeah,
It's very
we did-
important.
We did cover that, and it's just mind-boggling how they have no sympathy for the citizens of Walpole. It's like business as usual, like nothing happened.
Right.
Increase the budget by $4 million and just borrow, borrow, borrow. Matter of fact, on Monday night, Mark Gallivan mentioned how they built the fire station, police station, and the community center, i.e. the senior center, without an override. But at the same time, our town debt more than doubled. Okay, how did they achieve that? Why did the town debt more than double? Okay, in my opinion, what they did was they squirreled away all the cash And they sent out even the smallest of projects to long-term debt, increasing our town debt. Basically, in my opinion, I would call that an end around to a 2.5 override. You, the citizen, are still on the hook for the town debt, and you didn't have a say in it. Okay?
Absolutely, right. Moving on to another issue that's bothered me for a long time was the Jarvis Farm purchase.
Oh.
Okay, Tom, you were involved in that, and I think you required the Sewer and Water Commission to have an audit done. Could you explain what happened there?
Back when the Jarvis Farm was purchased, I was not a water and sewer commissioner. I became a water and sewer commissioner soon after that. Mainly, that's when I really started getting involved with town politics. People were talking to me about the spending, the out of control spending. And then I started looking into the actual purchase of Jarvis Farm. I mean, I've hashed this out many times, even as a water and sewer commissioner, because water and sewer owns Jarvis Farm. So I went through Freedom of Information request and requested all the literature and paperwork associated with that purchase. And frankly, people would be shocked at the amount of money that was spent for the purchase. The land wasn't even assessed at $700,000. But yet they went and spent $4.5 million for that property. Isn't that shocking?
It is shocking. And
After the purchase, your water rates went up 10%. That's just horrific. So
Now-
then they formed a Jarvis Farm committee to come up with a use, which was a total farce. They knew what they were going to use it for, because I had the paperwork. I read it
Tom,
prior to the purchase.
didn't they also just recently vote for a hookup for a hotel that's partly in Walpole and partly in Sharon, that the majority of taxes will be paid in
Right.
Sharon?
Yeah, that's another hit on our infrastructure. And you, the ratepayer, are paying for that.
so just move, this is loaded with financial questions here, okay? But we have to get these out to the public. The borrowing that went on for the fields, okay? There was, from what I understand, I looked at the contract, and there was no out clause, there's no force majeure, which is in every single contract that you make up, but there was no force majeure clause for the town. Would you say that was prudent?
I would say that is totally irresponsible. What municipality enters into a contract for millions and millions of dollars without an out clause for acts of God or a pandemic or some other unforeseen incident? There was no out clause in that contract, and they had to follow through with it, and they had to borrow the money, and it's just unbelievable. What type of town council reviewed that contract and didn't mention, we don't have an out clause? Everybody has an out clause in contracts.
Everybody,
Everybody.
right. I deal with contracts from time to time, and that's always in the contract, is force majeure. Now, staying on the ball fields, there was a proposal to site them behind Walpole High School, and that was blown off. And to my understanding, they could have saved millions of dollars. They wouldn't have to build a concession stand, tennis courts, basketball courts, bathroom facilities, and there was a couple of $1 million worth of gravel that would have been removed. Not to mention fire and police are around the block. Could you elaborate on that, Tom, please?
Yes, I also suggested the use of the land behind the high school as the infrastructure was already in place. Again, it was more centralized to the center of town to let children ride their bicycles or even walk there. With the ball fields currently up across from the state prison up on 1A, I feel as though it's a hazard. You're gonna have some kids trying to ride bicycles up there? That's a highway. I mean, it's just dangerous. But it's water under the bridge now. We're all hooked into it. They're not gonna stop it and not gonna roll it back. It's just a shame that they did that and forced it down our throats. It failed votes twice, and then it went back for a third time. That just seems like what they do constantly. If they want something, they're gonna just keep on bringing it back to the table until it passes.
Okay, there's something else I wanted to get to. I want to change it up a little bit. Okay, I'm looking at a document from the Walpole Public Schools to change the name of the Rebels. All right. Now, I know some people think that the Rebels name stands for the war between the states and the Confederate Army. But this country was founded on rebels. Paul Revere, William Dawes, they were all rebels. Without them, we would not have a country now. Tom, could you give us a little...
Well, my opinion of the whole rebel name, I feel as though it shouldn't be, basically changed by mob rule. I believe it should go to the ballot. Put it on as a ballot, a binding ballot question, and let the town citizens vote on it in a proper way. Not in mob rule. I just don't see it like that, and I don't think it's fair, especially to all the people that are proud of the rebel name, and all the students and families that have grown up with the rebel name and supported it forever. I mean, it's just been around for a long time. I've been in town 22 years, and I was proud of the name. I'm a bit of a rebel. I grew up in Dorchester and joined the Marines at a young age. I was considered a rebel. What are you doing? I was like, hey, it's something I have to do. And so the rebel, they're putting a name on it, on the word. What are they going to do? Go through the dictionary and just start picking out words that we don't like, that they don't like? I mean, it's just not right. Make it a binding question and let the entire town vote on it.
I agree. I think that's the way to go. What's your feelings on overrides, Tom? Would you say that a dollar number should be affixed? Anything over a certain dollar number should go for on the ballot for an override?
Yes, I would say anything over $3 million should become a ballot initiative. Let the townspeople that pay the bill have a say in it, not just town meeting. Town meeting could vote on things and pass the entire question and just give it back to the people. Let the people vote on it. Because they're footing the bill. Okay, a lot of stuff that happens at town meeting, as you know, is a kind of a bag job, if you ask me.
Okay, moving on to another subject, the overbuilding in downtown Walpole. I think everybody's concerned about that. I remember looking at some of the traffic reports that they had a peer study done on, and they used West Street as egress. West Street leads to Norfolk. I don't know how many people are going to drive to Norfolk to go to the Stop and Shop, okay, or the liquor store, okay? So what would you say about the overbuilding? Now, I know that Gilmore's is a proposed project set to go in there, and you have a 300 to 400 unit 40B in South Walpole. Could you just let us know how you feel about that, Tom?
Well, when I bought into Walpole 22 years ago, Walpole was a small bedroom community, and that's what me and my wife wanted. We wanted that small town feel, and As of late, it's actually starting to look like a small city. We got massive apartment buildings downtown. South Walpole will be, I think, destroyed. I mean, just look at the planning on those apartment buildings, how big they are. The setback going down West Street. It's literally right on the street. You got probably 5 feet between the street and the corner of the building. You know, I mean, it just isn't right.
And from what I understand, the one on West Street, there is no on-site parking, okay? All the parking is off-site, which is going to cause a problem.
It is going to cause a problem for all the businesses downtown, I believe. I think they're counting on everybody that lives there to use the train, the commuter rail and stuff like that, but you know how that's going to work. You live out here in Walpole. You need a car to get out into Boston or hop on the expressway and head down the Cape or wherever you want to go, you know, but everybody's not going to take the train. It's just a fairy tale.
I'd like to see them take the train from the apartment building to the Stop and Shop. That'd be novel, wouldn't it?
Exactly. I mean, I mean, just today, there was an article about the MBTA. Everybody that takes the MBTA is going to be forced to wear a mask. They'll have to wear a mask and gloves and everything. I mean, in close proximity, it's just, I wouldn't want to be taking the train every day, that's for sure.
No, I know.
It's a hazard.
Getting back onto the finances in the town, we gave Siemens a very nice TIF to build their factory here in Walpole. And from what I understand, they were supposed to hire some locals from Walpole to work there. And what I understand is they did not do that.
Right, they didn't live up to their side of the bargain 100%. But yet Walpole gave them a huge tax break on their construction.
Was it like $20 million or something
It
like
was
that?
$20 million.
Yeah.
So the taxpayers of Walpole are footing the bill on the added cost to our infrastructure, our tax base. That's why our taxes are going up so high. They have to stay up on the costs and everything. And with the Siemens TIF, it was just a bad idea, I think. I mean, I voted against it, so. Now that it's coming to light that, through Freedom of Information request, there wasn't even an attorney present when the negotiations were happening. So, again, poor judgment on the people that got that TIF for the Siemens company.
Yeah. Moving on to something a little bit different. The town meeting voted to make the town of Walpole 100% green by 2030. I'm in the energy business, okay, and I know that's impossible. You cannot take the energy infrastructure we have in place now and put up windmills and solar farms to replace the power, okay? What do you think about that, Tom?
Well, I think the town, went and adopted the Green New Deal after spending millions and millions of dollars building a new fire station, police station, and community center / senior center. Those are not green buildings. When they say, oh, they're almost green, so what is that, like a light green, light shade green? So they're not living what they're preaching. Okay, I'm also in the energy business. I have a heating and air conditioning business, and I promote the use of high efficiency air conditioning and heating equipment. You could get up, the highest in the efficiencies are around 16 SEER to 21 SEER on the air conditioning side. The SEER rating is the seasonal energy efficiency rating. And on the gas heat side, you could get up around 97% efficient. you're never gonna get 100% efficiency in gas. In oil, you're only gonna get around 86% efficient. They don't make a condensing oil boiler because oil can't be a regulated heat. It won't heat water at a lower temperature. It can't be regulated like that. But I am in favor of saving energy. I think we could save a lot of energy with initiatives just in the street lights alone. We could do LED lighting. I think they are doing some LED lighting, but I would push that along and save some money wherever we can in the schools, municipal buildings. Also, the Lincoln Road landfill site. It's capped off. They could put a nice big solar farm there that could probably produce around 7 megawatts. Put the solar panels on ballast so they don't have to penetrate the capping. And the high tension wires are already right there. That could be a huge savings to the town. Also, our municipal buildings should have solar power on them. Why not? Why don't all our municipal buildings have solar panels on them? It's all right there. So
Okay.
I don't think a 100% green town is achievable.
It's really not. It's something that the left has been pushing, the Green New Deal, no more airplanes, no more jet fuel. It's really, it's not going to happen, okay? But moving on to something a little bit different, okay? Everybody's familiar with the 1350
North Street.
North Street, okay? And what happened there, they basically took a 264-year-old house, tore it down, and put up a daycare center. Now, Mr. Galvin said that the daycare center was, you couldn't fight the daycare center because it was under the Dover Amendment. However, the Dover Amendment, when the town attorney looked at it, I was privy to looking at that. And when the town attorney looked at it, they said, yeah, we will get sued, okay? You're offering the guy $100,000 over his purchase price. He has no money into it except for purchase. Yeah, you'll be sued, but it'll be short-lived and it'll go away. But yet, they let them build it there. So we lost a 264-year-old house on a scenic way. North Street is a scenic way. It's registered by the state. What's your feelings on that, Tom?
I believe that was just a travesty waiting to happen. It's a gateway into Walpole, a scenic road. By allowing that commercial property to be built on North Street is opening the door for more development in that area of Walpole. Once they have one, others will follow. And once they start filing lawsuits to build, they'll win. The precedence is already set. It's just a shame that happened. That very old historic house was a piece of Walpole, and it should have been allowed to stay there. And that property should not have been developed into a commercial space there. I think there was other places in Walpole that were proposed for that daycare, and they refused. So I think there was something else going on, and we will see. Hopefully not soon, but I think we're going to see more development up there.
Vic, if Tom could share just a quick story with you. Recently, he went down to town hall and he was thinking about filing a recall on some of the town elected officials. And he has a very interesting story to share with you about that recall.
If you could elaborate on that, Tom, I'd like that.
Well, after as everybody knows, it was in the media, our former deputy police chief was involved in an incident and basically he lost his job. And I felt as though after uncovering documents that the town had inadvertently left online, that we were being lied to. There's no transparency, and I believe there was a cover-up to protect political allies of certain people in town hall. And just following the story and through Freedom of Information requests, which took over 5 months to get, 3 refusals from town hall, and 3 demands by the Secretary of State's office to hand over the documents. And I went to town hall and obtained paperwork to have a recall on a number of our current sitting select board members. So through an intermediary, I was told that if I was to drop my request for recall, they would get Nancy McKenzie to step aside and step down. I didn't file my paperwork because I was waiting on the Freedom of Information request and I was waiting on the court case to be settled, and but with the pandemic, courts were shut down. So I didn't follow through with my request. But now that we have all the paperwork, that recall is still on the table for me anyways. I mean, I think we were all wronged, and the cover-ups are just unbelievable. Matter of fact, the town spent, I think, $5,000 for legal counsel to figure out a way to counteract my recall request. I think that was shocking. I mean, why would they do that?
Nothing like throwing one of your colleagues under the bus.
Exactly. And they were prepared to throw Nancy McKenzie under the bus. And at a time when I was thinking Nancy McKenzie might have been a victim too.
It's unbelievable.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just unbelievable. So it's a sad case. It's just a very sad case all around. The town, unfortunately, will get, we will get through it, and it's just a sad case for everybody involved.
Yeah. So going on, I'm sure you remember when they were building the fire station and what we had planned for the area. The town master plan proposed the fire station to go on Robbins Road, but instead they built the fire station in the old spot. We incurred a lot of debt on that. Okay,
Right.
We had to build a temporary fire station. All right, could you just elaborate on that, Tom?
Well, I was a town meeting member during a lot of that, and a lot of discussions were going on, and I think we should have done the combined police and fire station. We would have saved a lot of money on infrastructure costs, and I think more centralized location, police and fire in the center of town is a better idea. I like the location where the fire station is now, and I think they could have incorporated the old police station into the new fire station and just expanded it down to Blackburn Hall. And I think it would have been a better location, but that's just my opinion. It would have been a cost savings anyways, I know that.
Yeah. And we could have developed the parking area and the city in the old town hall.
Right.
Right now, the old town hall is useless because the fire station butts up right next to it, and they're taking up most of the parking spaces in the town parking lot.
Yeah.
So Tom, what would you recommend that we do to increase the transparency? Would you recommend some type of a citizens advisory board to the town selectmen?
What I would do is I would recommend to the town hall and the selectmen, the board of selectmen and select board members to at least publish whatever they're doing. Town hall, I don't think town hall likes to put out what they're doing. I don't think they personally like to see people going into town hall asking questions and all that. The atmosphere just isn't friendly. We need answers all the time. And when I have to go get answers and we need it through Freedom of Information requests, it is a hassle. And they always give up the information reluctantly. So transparency in government is a good thing, no matter if it's good or bad. You should tell the citizens what's going on in the town.
Plus, they want to charge you $700 to get the records.
Right. On my latest request, I did request all correspondence between the select board members and town hall employees, certain employees that I wanted because of the time frame of the incident. Was May 4th to like August 9th or something like that.
And
So I wanted to get all the correspondence there because I think there was inapproprieties going on.
the other problem is some of the records you received weren't legible at all. They were blurry,
Right,
right?
Right.
And redacted more than they should have been.
right. There was a lot of redaction going on, and some of it was very shocking. And they are public documents, so I do have a lot of information, and it's not good. For instance, the incident happened May 4th, right? So during that time period, well, then we had the election June 3rd last year. So during that time period, we have, through the Freedom of Information, we have documents that clearly identify that Jim Johnson was playing an active role in Nancy McKenzie's campaign, filling out her questionnaire, helping her answer questions. It's just shocking. I was shocked, and I was also a candidate back then as well, running against her. Put me at an unfair advantage. I don't think Jim Johnson's volunteering any help to me, and I don't think it was in his job description to be playing an active political role in our town's elections.
One more
So-
thing, Tom,
Unbelievable.
that came to mind is in Precinct 1, there was a election for a couple of new RTMs, okay, and it was by the town charter. The elections are supposed to be held to a certain standard, which is a private ballot,
Right.
okay? And from what I understand, there were two people, the names I'll hold back, they're well-known in the community. They stood up and they demanded a voice vote, okay? Do you think that vote was legal?
No, I don't. From what I understand, Precinct 1 had a caucus, and Liz Gaffey went in, gave direction on how to hold that ballot. It was supposed to be a written ballot. Certain people stood up and wanted a voice vote because they allegedly wanted to see who their enemies were. But again, town clerk verified that voice vote against her direction in Precinct 1. That vote at town meeting is the vote that was taken to pass the ball fields up on Route 1A across from the prison. I think there was a very strong drive to get that vote through. It was challenged, when the vote was finally taken, it was challenged, but it was brushed aside. And I talked to a few people, and I still believe the vote really didn't pass by a very small fraction of a number.
Right, and let's get into that for a second. On the, on the vote, okay, there were so many votes for, so many against, and there was one abstention.
Right.
And I believe in Robert's rules, okay, the abstention counts as a vote. Okay? So when we figured it out,
Right.
do you happen to know what the numbers came out to be? I think it was only like by,
It was a fraction.
a third of a
It was
point.
below, it was below the whole number,
right,
and I believe Dan Bruce rounded it up to the whole number. It was closer to the zero. So I think through the rules of town meeting, whatever the guidebook is for moderators, I don't have the exact name on that, but it did state that the number should have been rounded down, not up. So. I think,
yeah, and I think if you did add that abstention in there,
Right.
that the,
Well, I think the abstention was part of the total number of eligible voters. So it
Right.
should have been included.
right,
But unfortunately, the challenge time period had expired before we could actually challenge it. So the vote stands.
right. You know, looking back at that vote in the, in precinct 1, if those two weren't elected, the vote would have failed.
Right. It never should have been the election in precinct 1 on the caucus never should have been verified, in my opinion, because they didn't follow procedure correctly.
Okay, Tom, I think we're coming up to almost the end here. Would you like to give your final statement?
Sure, can I make one quick announcement,
Sure.
though, this is very important for you people out there, Grace and Jim Gravatos on Walpole Happening on Facebook. They're honorably, after town meeting on June 20th from the football stadium at noon, we're gonna have a parade down to South Street across from the police station parking lot, and they're going to present the police chief a plaque for all the dedication and service protecting us, especially during these trying pandemic times. So it's a worthy event. We hope you come down and support our local police department. And we all know, God only knows, that police departments across the country are taking a lot of flack right now, so it's a worthy cause.
Thank you for that information. That's, I'll definitely show up, show support.
Absolutely.
And through the last 3 months, I've shown support to our fire department and police department when I was working with the Mass Military Support Foundation, feeding millions and millions of veterans and their families throughout New England. They're located down at Gillette Stadium, and it's a great organization. We've fed 3 million veterans, or 3 million meals to veterans throughout New England in 3 months. I was going down there, it was 7 days a week. There are other citizens in Walpole that are also helping out. Mainly, I would like to give a good shout out to Ken Southwood. He's a huge help and a very prominent figure down there, helping out all the time, unloading trucks. And you know, there's a couple of companies in town that also contributed money and materials and road plates up on Route 1A, donated a lot of steel plates for the big trucks to come in so they can be unloaded at the docks. Mr. Cleveland, Rick Cleveland, Fuel, donating diesel fuel for all the trucks. And he shows up every single day to refuel them. And many citizens in Walpole have donated money to the organization. It is supported by the Craft Group. So it's been a vetted group and organization. And I highly support them, and I've personally driven around town with boxes of food to veterans in town and delivered it personally to their homes. We've had extra food and stuff like that, so I've brought down a couple of truckloads to the fire department, and I brought a truckload over to the police department, and I'm sure it was very welcomed by all of them.
You'd be highly commended for that. And I think you get about 2 minutes to close on a closing statement. Why the people should vote for Tom Brown on Saturday, June 27th.
Well, I humbly ask for your vote June 27th. I just feel as though the town needs a change in the direction that we are going. I would think we need more responsible spending and taxation. Definitely we need some accountability. And transparency is always on top of the list as well. So please come out and vote. You can vote early. Please come out and vote on Saturday, June 27th, and vote for Tom Brown for your next select board member. I would greatly appreciate that. And I will guarantee you that I will bring innovation and new ideas, cost-saving ideas. I will hold people accountable. I have no problem doing that. And I will always be transparent. I have an open door policy. You can always call me. My telephone number is, everybody sees me around town in my truck. My telephone number, my email address is on the truck. You can contact me anytime you want. As a water and sewer commissioner, I was able to keep down proposed rates with retained earnings. I was able to talk to my fellow commissioners and get them to agree to lower rates. I was fair to all the ratepayers that came before us and asked us for assistance with their bills. And it was an awesome experience to learn how our town operates. And I would encourage everybody to get involved with their town government if you have the time. It is an undertaking, and it's time consuming, but if you have some time on your hands and you're willing to volunteer and help out, please feel free to do it. I mean, run for town meeting, run for some of these offices. Some of them, nobody's running for. So we need people to get involved. We always have a very low turnout in our town elections, and I'm hoping that we can get a very large turnout this year, as I think we really need the change. And I am that change for you, the town citizen. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
And for those people that will not make it on June 27th, you still have 2 weeks for early and absentee ballots through the town clerk's office.
And I believe that the voting hours are 8 to 6.
8 to 5.
8 to 5, I'm sorry.
All right,
on
well,
that day.
We appreciate you having us on the show, Vic. Thank you so much. It was a
Go
pleasure
Rebels.
to join Tom.
Go
and-
Rebels.
And yourself, correct. Go Rebels. Thank you.
Don't take that away from us.
Right.
Thank you.